to show you is the beauty of AI. So what I literally did was I typed in, and I hope I'm clear in the picture. So what I typed in was writing prompts based on the story we just read, Home for the Holidays by Desiree Cooper. For those of you who have never read that story by Desiree Cooper, it is basically a couple, Renee and Rashawn. They're on their way home. Renee already has on her mind, and the story is told through her perspective, that she's done with the marriage. And we're just going home for the holidays for the kids to see mom, and after this, I'm filing for divorce. But a very tragic event happens, or a very disturbing event happens to cause her to bring her and Rashawn closer together. At least we hope, we think, because the way the story ends is borderline a happy note, but at the same time, will this cause her to stay with Rashawn? So I typed in Home for the Holidays writing prompts, and this is what came up from AI. Again, simply you go to Google and you type that in and click AI mode, and this is what will come up. Okay, so notice the prompts. This is what's super dope. So it said, the narrative unfolds from Renee's perspective, offering internal thoughts and growing tension during the car ride. So your prompt is to rewrite a key scene from Rashawn's perspective. What is the thinking during their tense conversations? What is his inner monologue? And then they can expand it more by writing another scene from the perspective of the family members who were there. Then narrative continuation. Basically, we know they were going there for Christmas, so writing a scene that depicts what happened at the Christmas dinner when they finally get there. What are the family members' reactions to what happened to them in the car? Then you can expand it by flashing forward to another holiday and seeing, are Renee and Rashawn were having problems, so how did they resolve their problems, and how did they stay together? Because even though they had a touching moment at the end, was that enough to keep Renee in the marriage? All right, so then you have a before and after analysis. We know from the beginning of the story that Renee is mad at Rashawn, but we don't know why. We don't even know why she wanted to leave. So it was like, what happened? Basically, the prompt is, show what the couple, what happened to them before they left on the trip. Because basically, Renee is been driving, we don't know how long. They've been driving from Detroit to Baltimore. And then Rashawn wakes up and says, you still mad? So what was she mad about? And of course, she lies and says she wasn't, because she didn't want to wake up the kids in the back seat. And then expansion activity is to write a reflection from Renee and Rashawn. What did they learn from the trip? Where are they now? And how do they see this relationship going? So you have to write in their perspective. Isn't this dope? So then the next one is memoir based, where basically instead of them writing about themselves, they were writing on Renee and Rashawn, they write on themselves. So they describe a time where they experienced prejudice, because in the story they experienced prejudice and racial hatred. Tension within your own family, within your social circle, how did it affect you, how did it respond? And then an expansion would be, where was a time where you were in a simple, ordinary place, but it became tense and unsafe because of the circumstances and the situation? So the car ride supplied more tension to what Renee and Rashawn was feeling. So some of us was a simple car ride, some of you was a simple dinner. You normally have something different every day with this family, but for whatever reason in this particular dinner, something happened that disrupted you emotionally, and how did you deal with that? Dope. Then the character study and theme exploration. So this is when, again, the students are allowed to focus on themselves or the characters, and they can write a short story about the common themes in the story, writing a new story, or involving characters already in the story, or they can do a character sketch. Okay, so notice the level, the difficulty level with the different prompts here. I'm definitely doing this more. It's not an everyday activity, because one thing I'm noticing with my students who speak English as their first language, articulating their thoughts takes a whole lot longer versus my students who are English speaking students. So this is not an everyday activity, but this is a good culminating activity to do at the end of a reading, so you allow them flexibility.